Welcome back to the Keys to the City podcast, where the kingdom enables your success. I'm your host, Christian Graham. Welcome today with the one and only Charles Bayani, founder and CEO of the Payment HQ. Welcome, Charles.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we had met just about a month ago over at Feature Friday here at the MK Lab. And I saw you get yours posted for Feature Friday, I think maybe a month before, right? So Jessica did a segment for you guys on the Payment HQ, and I was like, man, like he got some dope content coming out, like BTS, like for the overall rollout, you know, leading up to the actual Feature Friday itself. And I was like, man, I need to meet this guy, you know? And so grateful that you ended up pulling up on, you know, mine and Steph's Feature Friday here at the lab. And yeah, now that, you know, we had a great conversation. I mean, we ended the Feature Friday, but we stuck around for like a good 2 hours or something like that.
Masterminding, you know?
Right. Exactly. And so, yeah, welcome to, you know, the Keys to the City podcast. A little background on, you know, what we're about is just giving out keys to success for the next generation to come, whether it be in credit card processing or whether it be building a personal brand. We'll kind of jump into all of those things since that's pretty much what you're doing nowadays, right? And I just want to be able to give like well-informed advice, suggestions to, you know, that entrepreneur, that aspiring entrepreneur that wants to get going in different fields, right? So like they have some type of expert or authority to lean back on whenever they watch through any of our episodes. So we've had athletes, professional athletes on here. We've had influencers, food influencers. We've had restaurant owners. We've had just a variety, community builders. And so you can always reference back a video of some type of expert in their field to get a better understanding of what they have to offer. And so let's jump straight into it. Yeah?
Yeah, let's roll.
Cool. So what started the Payment HQ, and talk about a little bit of backstory of what it is, what you have to offer, and yeah, how you got going in credit card processing.
So my story starts back in 2011. I had joined Wells Fargo Bank, and I started at the bottom. And funny enough, I've been in sales for pretty much almost all my life.
Okay.
I've done, I don't know if anyone will know this. Do you know what a rainbow vacuum is?
Yes, we have one.
Yeah.
We have one. Yeah.
So I used to do like door-to-door sales for
Okay.
Rainbow Vacuum.
Okay.
My dad was like, hey, you can make a lot of money if you sell this one vacuum.
Didn't all the Filipinos do it?
Yeah.
my
Filipinos.
my neighbor at Smack in Boba Love,
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, we did that too. So yeah.
So for a season, a summer season, I did that, and it exposed me to sales. And the thing that stood out to me before I got to the bank was I could work smarter or I could work harder, right? So the smarter route was, let me work my friends.
Yeah.
Hey, does your mom need a new vacuum? Does your
Right.
dad need a new vacuum? And that's where my sales journey actually really took off, because then I got into cell phone sales.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work at Singular, if you know that brand.
Yeah.
Then it got bought out by AT&T.
Go.
Then from AT&T, I was in a lull because in that window, I was still in college trying to figure out what my life was going to look like. And I didn't want to be a nurse. And my parents at the time were very against me pursuing something else outside of medical.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what, Charles, you have two options. You could either be a nurse or a failure. And what was eating away at me at the time was, this is not for me. I already knew in education, I was not wanting to be in this profession.
Right.
I was actually 100% transparency here. I'm an average student.
Mm-hmm.
C's all the way.
Yeah.
I never excelled in academics, but I understood everything.
Yeah.
And I was also perceived by my teachers at the time as I don't follow instructions. So I was always kind of like a black sheep. And let's rewind a little further back. The reason why I was always perceived that way was I'm a problem solver, and I'm the kind of person who likes to, if it takes 5 steps, can I do it in 3?
Yeah.
5 steps, can I do it in 4?
Right.
Or less?
Right.
And people always, teachers, not people, but teachers always would look at like, Charles, he's really bright, but he doesn't follow directions, follow instruction. He doesn't follow in line.
Yeah.
And fast forward to me and being in college, my parents were like, you need to do this.
Right.
This is your future. This is your career. You need to follow through.
Yeah. Preach it.
And in my heart, I knew it wasn't my thing. So now we're at 2011. So we'll fast forward through the boring stuff. I convinced my parents, give me 1-2 years to figure myself out.
Yeah.
I'll go back to school. I'll become a nurse, get the degree, and we'll call it.
Yeah. If it doesn't work out.
If it doesn't work out.
Right.
So I go and I quit my cell phone job. And at the time, 2011, I was making like $80,000 to $98,000 a year
Wow.
slinging cell phones.
Great.
That's a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
For like a 20 to 25-year-old Charles, that's a lot of money.
You're right.
And I had 401k, I had benefits, and all the normal things you would think a corporate job offers.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is not a big boy job, slinging cell phones. And at the time, it was good money, but I knew there was more. And I was chasing impact. So, because I knew cell phones, it's more like a commodity. Everybody's got to have one
Right.
for communication, but it didn't really change anyone's lives. And then I found an interest in business and in finance. So I applied at Wells Fargo. And I took a heavy haircut on the income when I started.
Right.
But I said, I'm sacrificing for the long-term vision.
Did they start you off as a teller? Because that's the way that normally like banks usually start you all the way at the very bottom and then kind of build you up from there, yeah? Or
yeah, so typically they do. So when I applied for 2 positions. I applied for a business banker and I applied for a personal banker.
Gotcha.
I actually got 2 different interviews. Like, let's just say I went to a north side interview group and a south side interview group.
Gotcha.
And I got calls back on both. And I didn't know what position I was accepting. I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And I ended up accepting the wrong position. I accepted the personal banker. And then I called back and said, hey, HR, I wanted the business banker job. And they're like, we gave it to someone else because you accepted the other job.
Right.
I'm like, no. And I was like, okay, forget it. Like, I don't have time. Let's just start here and I'll work my way there.
Yeah.
And I'll navigate. And 2011 is when my career started in finance and banking.
Okay.
So really quickly, I excelled. Did really well at sales, did really well with people because I was always a people person. Relationships, helping people. And at the time, Wells Fargo had this really good brand about together we'll go far. And if you succeed, we succeed, and we succeed together. And that's why I picked the bank, because of all the brands out there, that was the only bank talking about relationships and doing things together. And for whatever reason, that resonated with me.
Yeah. I mean, even just being a part of, like, right now we're in May, right? So this is AAPI Heritage Month, right? And so I think for us, like, being a part of Asian Pacific Islander background, community plays a huge part. That's even how we are here together, right? Is the ABA, right? The Asian Business Association kind of formed this whole thing that they're trying to ramp up with Feature Friday and starting to form that community, that networking opportunity for like-minded individuals and entrepreneurs to come together. And so, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So community, like, is what drew me there, and was the top performing banker first year. And like, funny, I got hired in January and I started in March. They give you like a 2-month training in March. And funny, by end of that year, I was recognized as one of the top performing bankers in the nation. Right? I wasn't like up there, but top 20%. And that was like with a 3-month gap, to get up and running.
Right.
Then I got promoted to a business banker. Same thing. And I did that for 2 years, and I was a top performing business banker for the 2 years I was a business banker. So I'm fast tracking through the ranks, connecting with people, helping people.
Yeah.
More importantly, helping the people that I'm being trusted to help, and networking amongst corporate America, shaking hands with leaders, making moves. And then I take one final jump into a department I'm unfamiliar with, but someone put it in my head, this is where you want to go in the bank. The compensation plan is not based on widgets or one-time sales.
Yeah.
So as you book things, you don't get paid on it once. You get paid on it reoccurring, residually. So I get a promotion offer to go into a department called merchant services. For those that aren't familiar, merchant services is payment services.
Right.
So all things credit card, debit card, electronic, credit card terminal, point of sale,
Right.
invoicing, online payments, all of that.
Right.
And that was my first exposure to payments, the payment services, and I was hooked.
Yeah. On returns, or like what were you seeing on the back end side, being on the Wells Fargo's side, not being in your own lane of the payment HQ? Like, how were you viewing those two lenses in the payment side? Like, were you able to see the back end residuals of what they're pulling in, on monthly recurring revenue on merchant side? Or
yeah.
Okay.
So we were privy to all that data. So at the time when I was first exposed to the gross, the income and the expense and the net,
Yeah.
the thing that stood out to me was that problem solving Charles to like, how do I do this faster, better, and what have you? That light bulb went off again, because even though I was in a higher income job, now like my parents are like, oh, he's got the titles, he's got the awards,
Yeah.
he's doing it. Okay, Charles, we trust you. Keep going.
Yeah.
And I started to see this is where I was doing all the right things again. I was following almost like a plan that everybody wants to follow. Career, a job title, a reputable company,
Right.
right? Perks, benefits, retirement, all of that cool stuff.
Yeah.
And funny enough, as you asked, was I privy to it? I was like, yeah. At the time, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, yo, I'm killing it.
Right.
And same thing again. I did merchant services in that division for 7 years. And for 7 years straight, I should have like 7 rings like Michael Jordan. Like literally
You're
take a
at the
picture.
top, yeah.
I was at the top of my game.
Wow.
And on the last year, I was also at the top of my game when I exited.
Yeah.
And I didn't even finish the year, but I was going to wrap up the year as one of the top performers again. And I wasn't even slated to finish the year.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to me to see those numbers, because what happened was the light bulb went off of these numbers don't make sense. And in reality, like I'm going to explain it. It does make sense because the bank gives me, here's your salary, Charles.
Yeah.
Here's your big salary plus your bonuses. And then I'm looking at this commission report that they send me. Here's like the income you generated. Here's the expenses. Here's the net. And then like when you see a number like this big, like let's say it's like 7-figure profit.
Right.
Like literally like almost like an ant size, like here's your commission.
Yeah.
And I was like, where'd the rest go?
Right. Right.
So like year 6 to year 7 was when I'm like thinking to myself, okay,
This isn't right.
This
like the
isn't
math ain't mathin'.
the math ain't happening.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
That's what ended up bringing you into starting your own company in the payment HQ and going straight hard into merchant services yourself. Yeah. Or
a piece of it.
Okay.
So the income part, yes, very important. But some of the obstacles that I was facing, and many people will find this insightful because it's real. Wells Fargo or corporate America, it doesn't have to be Wells Fargo because it's uniform across the board.
Yeah.
Any corporate company, they have their rules.
Yeah.
They have their policies.
Right.
And the thing in my tenure at the bank that I always navigated around because I was, a great problem solver was thinking outside of the box. And at the time, I'm looking at these people need our help, but the bank and the leaders at the time were telling me, yo, Charles, you're killing it, but you don't need to help that person because it doesn't really move the needle for the company. The company, and I'll give you an example. Like for credit card processing, we had sales goals, right? Like you got to hit so many new accounts and these accounts need to produce X amount of revenue. And when they say X amount of revenue, the business needs to do annually a certain level of sales.
Right.
So for restaurants, for example, like if you sign that restaurant, Charles, at minimum, they need to do $100,000 or don't sign them. Truth is we'll find a lot of clients that do 80,000 a year, 60, 50, 40. The service benefits them. It helps them. But the bank's telling me, hey, that's not worth your time.
Because it's not bringing in
enough revenue.
Right.
So that was something that always bugged me at the bank. And there was a group that the bank has that, hey, if you come across that, we have a separate channel that will serve them.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of the best opportunities were in that pool that didn't fit the bank's idea of the customer I should serve. Because then the business would turn up. Now, in the bank's defense, and not that it was all bad, they just wanted to make use of our time, right? Like they're like, hey, we're paying you to chase these types of clients.
Right.
So chase those types of clients.
Right.
But it just sucked when you would run into an opportunity. I vibe with the customer, great relationship. I see the potential.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to turn your back.
Can't do it. Yeah.
Can't do it.
Right.
You're not the right customer to serve. And I'm like, what does that mean?
I completely understand. Like we actually have a pretty similar background in that sense. Cause, before starting this whole, entrepreneurship journey, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since like 12 years old, starting with selling candy at the school and Gatorades and stuff. And we talked about that at Feature Friday, and then it led into other side hustles and whatnot. But there was a point in time when I turned 18 and I started investing, and I was like, I wanted to then become a financial advisor. Or let me backtrack a little bit. When I was coming out of high school, I remember, passing my AP test for AP psychology, and I was like, okay, I want to be a therapist eventually, right? And then I was like, just like you, I was like, you know what? Like, I had to bust my ass to be like even a decent student. I don't know if like I can do another 8 years of school, like, you know what I mean? Long. Yeah, to get my, psychology, like, doctorates and stuff like that, and start my own practice. So I'm like, okay, well, where can I find that happy medium? And so when I became good at investing, I was like, okay, let me help people instead of helping them with, say, like mental health goals and things like that. How can I help them in their financial health? You know what I mean? And so that's when financial advising became a part of my mindset of like things to do. And so I remember applying my freshman year at SDSU for an internship over at LPL Financial, and then also B of A. And so B of A was going to be a full-time permanent position, and they were going to mold me up through the ladder to then take the track of either financial advisor or financial planner. And I'm going through my interview, and she was like, you're overqualified for this. Like, you need to like not be here, like, but you don't have enough experience to already be here, right? Because I'm only like 18, 19 years old at this point. And so that sucked because I was really looking to start like moving up the ladder in that sense and like start using that degree that my parents were calling me to use, or, mold into. And so, long story short, I ended up taking that position over at LPL, and I'm a project manager over at LPL and data analyst. And I thought like, okay, I'd be able to like eventually move through the ranks and get my, series, 6 and stuff like that to go, become a financial advisor. And so I'm going through the whole corporate ladder myself. And 2 months into my corporate position, I end up saving the company over $400,000 on one project that I was spearheading as an intern. And so they moved me up to full-time permanent right away. And I was requesting, we got into it, like me and my VP at the time, we're getting into it. I remember going to work crying for like 2 weeks straight. And my now wife, Steph, was like, this isn't for you, And I was like, what are we going to do? Because then we find out that we're pregnant with our daughter or a daughter on the way. And I'm like, are you giving me the okay to like leave my corporate job right now? Like, we just got these full-time benefits, just bought a new car, like the whole nine. And she's like, yeah, like this isn't for you. And so I remember going straight down the elevator after handing in my badge, my laptop, and I bought these exact microphones. I bought how to start a podcast, how to build a personal brand for dummies. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start doing instead of financial advising, since we're not going to go down that route anymore, I'm going to just do financial coaching, right? Or business coaching, and do it on a podcast. And so I bought this equipment, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get going. So I'm in my garage, and I'm like, all right, like, let's do it. Try to go and record. Audio sucks. I don't know how to start the video. I don't know how to do nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like at the time, like it's just, there was such a big learning curve back then. That was over 6 years ago. Now they have a whole bunch of, YouTube content on it. Of course, we like have Omar as as a coach, mutual coach, and someone we kind of learn from, when it comes to video content. And yeah, back then we didn't have all of that, or it wasn't as resourceful back then or abundant. And so I ended up pushing that aside. And then I'm like, all right, God, what do I need to do from here? And then that's when Smackin' came about, and I was like, what restaurant? Like, why would I want to do a restaurant? And I remember God just being like, this isn't what you want to do, but this is what's going to like spring forward those next opportunities. And it's just wild because today of all days is the actual move out date of Smackin', right?
Wow.
That we're on the pod now. And here we are like in a full blown, Jesus, can you actually grab the remote over there real quick? Sorry. On the right side next to the mixer. I need to hit the up button real quick. Yeah, and so today of all days is the move out date for Smackin', and here we are in the studio and recording this podcast. And now it's not just these microphones and like an iPhone camera, my little Scarlett, recording into a MacBook. We got a full blown, 3 sets of FX30s and
Crazy.
Studio lighting and just this overall kind of content creating space. And it's just wild to see like where God leads you through, but you have to ride those waves. Like for you, it was 7 years or so kind of riding the corporate ladder. And then you're like, oh yeah, things are finally clicking. And then it clicks with you one day like, wait, hold on. Like this is the exact thing that like I told myself I wasn't going to be doing 7 years ago, like this is the exact thing that I told myself I didn't want to be doing, like slaving in the kitchen. Like I need to be out of here. I need to be like still not going and using my degree. Like I felt pressure at one point to even like go and do that again. And I'm like, wait, like we have something good cooking up right here. And we have all the experience. We have all the opportunities and resources to just go and do it. So why don't we do it? And so I just want to kind of leave that for the people viewing this is like, you just need to get started. Would you say the same? Like you just need to go and just do it. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Funny. You say you just need to go and do it. In my Feature Friday event, someone asked the question and they're like, what would you tell your younger self knowing what you know now? And the thing that held me back for the longest time was fear. And
fear of failure or fear of success?
Fear of failure.
Fear
Fear of failure and judgment. Because till this point, the Charles you see today isn't the same Charles from years ago. And before, I've never said this out loud, but it was always important to me, the validation of others. So I wanted people to validate me by saying, oh yeah, he's successful. He's doing well.
Yeah.
And the thing that corporate America does is it indoctrinates you into that kind of culture of validation.
Yes.
The job titles, the promotions,
yes,
the recognition,
right,
the events, and it's a way, not like it's evil, but it is a way that makes you forget about what your pure dreams are, like who you're intentionally supposed to become. They make you trade your time for money so that you could stay there and build their company.
Right.
And for me, it's funny. If you just do it, the sooner the lessons will come, the sooner the experience will come.
Yeah.
The wisdom will follow.
Oh man, that's so good, man. Because like what people really fail to realize is, and I'm speaking to my parents right now. I'm speaking to the Asian American community of, Gen or what baby boomers and stuff like that, where yes, like you got the opportunity to say, come to the States, and then you had to go through education because that's what your parents wanted you to do. That was very much a survival mindset of like what you had to do in order to survive when you got here. But the whole reason why intentionally, like what your grandparents may have wanted you to do of it, wasn't for everyone to just go and get educated, but it was for the advancement of the next generation to the next generation, right? And creating opportunities for that next generation in our lineage, right? And so I'll still, to this day, even with all of the success and all of the opportunities that we've had, articles written up and being published on news and things like that, like to this day, my mom will still be like, and why don't you just go get a real job? You know what I mean? And it's like when you don't sit back and you realize, like, I understand they're coming from a good place of like, we just want you to do well. Like when all things are said and done and they're gone away, right? Like they just want you to do well off, especially like me being a parent now, like me being a dad now. I'm like, okay, yeah, I just want my girls to be okay, but at the same time, like, you want to be able to create an abundance of opportunities for them to succeed in whatever that they are called to do and whatever they're assigned to do, whether that be a nurse or whether that be a podcaster. Like, people don't realize that's just the nature of where we're heading in that digital direction. Like, you have YouTubers that make 10 times the amount of a doctor now, and off of like a few posts, like you might only have to post like one time and it just hits, and then you just kind of spring forward from there, right? The opportunities are just so endless now. And so for me, it's just a message to kind of that older generation, like, we love you, we respect you, but at the same time, times have changed, and you can now go out and just be the creative, and as long as you're posting about it, right, you spring forward a whole bunch of opportunities, especially like whether it's a personal brand or a corporate brand. You create your own sphere of influence, you create your own platform, and people will eventually follow you if you stay consistent, or you might hit that viral clip and just blow up like right on spot. And we've seen that time and time again, and so it's kind of a big thing of just like we've been saying, you just got to get started and really show them that it's not about pleasing people. I think that's one thing that we fall into the trap of, but how are we going to serve people better with the solutions that we have, that like that God-given, vision and dream that we've had? Maybe even it wasn't from a young age, maybe it was from 20, 29 or 30 years old, for us to go and execute on it. And it may have taken some time, but when you look at when they tell you to go take a corporate job, all they're saying is go build up someone else's dream, right? But the thing is that they don't realize that person that started that job, they took the risk. It just happened a little bit. It just happened a little bit longer ago.
Yes.
It was like maybe 10 years ago or even just a couple years ago if it's a startup company, right?
Yeah.
But it started with that person going and pursuing that dream and risking it all and saying, hey, like, I'm laying it all on the line to make this happen. And if it works out, it works out. And so for us, I just extremely appreciate the entrepreneurs because we take the risk, right? And whether it works out or not, like, we did it, we tried it, right? And to me, that can't be a failure. There is no, you shouldn't fear failure as an entrepreneur because there's no actual failure. It's just a lesson. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to go and do it, just do it. And whether your parents, whether your grandparents, whether your brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles tell you otherwise, you're not going to ever build something grand or special or leave that legacy of impact if you don't go and try to do it in the first place. And that's what your parents, aunties, and uncles and stuff like that are telling you to go do in the first place, is go and help that other person leave that legacy, leave that impact on the table for their family. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
A lot of the things you say like resonate deeply because we immigrated here from the Philippines, and the mindset of my parents was that of survival. So there was inside of them a limiting belief in life. And the word that comes to mind that I felt like they never had until now that they're retired and everything, they're like back in honeymoon phase of their life, being grandparents, is the word they lacked in their life was abundance. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of opportunity. And we're not in a place now where we have to fight for survival. And I had to earn my parents' trust, right? And their respect. And that's what the move back in 2011 was, right? Like, give me this opportunity, promotions, job titles, everything. And like you said, I ended up falling back into that trap of, okay, I'm here, but why am I not fulfilled? I had the career, the income, and here's the thing. Being at the bank, I was exposed to a lot of very affluent and well-off people.
Right.
And I was also exposed to other people who were not good with their money. And you'll find in the journey of my career, I start asking, this guy figured it out. He's got bad credit though. This guy figured it out, or this gal figured it out, but they don't even know how much is in their bank account. They're bouncing checks. They make 7 figures.
Right.
And they don't know how to manage your credit or manage your finances at a basic level.
Right.
So you can see as the years go on, like the wheels start turning, and then I start seeing the numbers, and I'm like, the bank is making hand over fist money off of money and the work that I do and everyone else that's in the company that does what I do. And they're telling me, here's your sandbox, Charles. These are the people you are allowed to help. I'm given this opportunity, this resource that can actually impact and help a ton of people. Yet the bank is saying, hey, help only these people.
Right.
Why not help everyone?
Right.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's hard to look someone in the eye and say, hey, we have the thing, but I'm not the person that's going to help you with it.
Yeah.
So eventually that ate me up because the reason I was so successful in every, step of my career at the bank was I actually led from the heart. I worked with integrity and tried to live the vision that I felt like aligned with what was important to me.
Right.
Helping people, having impact, and succeeding together.
Yeah.
And as I got higher and higher in the ranks, I found that the bank really cared about profits, shareholders, the stocks,
Right.
breaking records. And those are all great things and those are all important for business. But I think where they lost me was they were not thinking of people. The human component was gone.
Right.
Like, to me, I'm like, I'm one person and I'm connected to like hundreds, maybe even thousands of business owners. And you've told me you could only help a couple hundred of these people.
Yeah.
And that ate me up inside because, everybody, in my opinion, deserves a fair shot. Like my family, immigrants, they got their fair shot. People, they have their dreams, their aspirations. And here they are asking for help that I can give, but I'm being told not to.
Right.
Kind of like your hands are tied, but I'm like, how can I have, the question came up, how can I help these people? So, to fast forward a bit, there were some people ahead of me that left the company and started their own merchant services company. And I thought to myself, this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the top guy.
Right.
This guy all the way down there?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, probably not going to make it.
Right.
Another year goes by. I was like, oh, he's still in it.
Yeah.
2 years go by. He's still in it. And I'm watching. I'm like, oh, he's doing fine.
Yeah.
Another one of my peers does it. And I start thinking, okay, I'm bothered by the fact that I can't help everyone that I come across. And I'm starting to piece together that if this guy can do it, I don't want to throw shade at him, but he's less capable than me. I think I could do it.
Yeah.
I started asking, and then combine that with the business owners that I was seeing that, aren't as sharp with their finances.
Yeah.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I should do it too.
Right.
So the idea, the seed had been planted for years because I was exposed to people moving on and exposed to people doing it that didn't know anything about money and finances.
Yeah.
And I was seeing the bank, look how big this profit line is.
Yeah.
And then they would tell this story that, we got to cut back. We can't do this year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, we just crushed record-breaking numbers.
Yeah.
And, when you hear these numbers like trillions of dollars of assets, the interest they make on that is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Money appears just for breathing.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah. I want to take a slight detour to this so you've been in the corporate journey and you are then pushed out of it to start the Payment HQ in order to be able to help more people, right? So from a marketing perspective, since you're like, oh, I want to be able to help everybody in the Payment HQ, who is that ideal person, or do you have a set limit of people that you are now looking to help? Because walk me through what the ideal customer is for the Payment HQ, if there even is one, because you want to be able to serve more people.
So the bank told us that same scenario about the box, right? This is who you could help. The bank was very picky about industries. So I guess you could say it's still pretty broad who we can serve, but the bank has a low risk appetite when it comes to business industries. And when I say low risk, I mean retail, medical, automotive. Those are low risk because if you want to buy a set of tires, you go to the tire shop. I want those 4 tires. You pay for it. You get the tires.
Right.
I want a coffee, hot, large. It's $5. Swipe. I get my coffee. That's
Right.
low risk.
Right.
High risk to the bank is anything but that. Order online, get it in 2 days, 3 days, a week. That's kind of risky to them. They're like, whoa, maybe we don't want to do that. So they have a lot of red tape around a lot of common industries that we don't perceive as high risk or high risk to the bank.
Like e-com or something like that?
E-com,
Okay.
coaches,
yeah.
courses,
Course creators.
and programs, because the outcome is ambiguous. I'll give you an example. This is popular. We see a lot of issues with this industry where a business coach, a guru will say, hey, if you join my program, I can guarantee that you'll increase your sales by 5-10%.
Right.
You apply these
Right.
principles or what, and someone buys, they get a lift, but it doesn't meet the commitment.
Right.
They're in their right to call their bank or card company and say, hey, this guy promised me
refund.
10%.
Yeah.
I want my charge back. Right? I want a refund on this because he promised me 10%. He got me 9%.
Right.
And that's what they agreed to.
Right.
That was what the transaction was agreed upon.
Right.
So that's why those are viewed as a little bit riskier.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's a product.
Yeah.
Someone says, hey, did you get your coffee? Yeah. We have it on camera. We
Yeah.
have him signing the receipt.
Right.
Low risk, right?
Right.
Like the business customer can defend themselves, and the chances of that transaction going sideways are very low.
Yeah. So what would you suggest to that person wanting to get into credit card processing? Where do they get started with it?
Ooh, that's a tough one because we are a unique financial service that doesn't require any licenses. So there's no certifications required. It is probably a good idea to start at a bank just to get your bearings straight in numbers and understanding the process of working with B2B clients. I would tell you there's a few, including myself, that are out there that are mentors that you could pay for. So you could pay for mentorship from other people who own companies like mine.
And you provide mentorship yourself, yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
where can they access you at?
At www.thepaymenthq.com.
Okay.
You could book a call with me. The mentorship program is 101. It's usually for a month, and we'll give you all the game you need to get up and running.
Okay.
How to engage customers, how to understand financial statements, how the software and hardware works, and how to properly help a customer, make it work for them. And it doesn't stop there, because there's also mindset that goes into there. There's also sales coaching that goes into there. And a lot of times I'm not the kind of person I'm not a hard seller. I'm more of a value seller, right? And I'm not here to convince someone to do something they don't want to do, right? But I'm here to show someone what we can do and what help we could provide their company and what resources we could provide, right? And whether they see the value or not, I'm never going to force someone to do business with me that doesn't see it or want to do it.
Do you ever do any partnerships aspects with, say, a mentee that has gone through your program, or do you let them kind of just go off to the races after your coaching, after your mentorship, and they just start their own company? Have you ever done any type of licensing or partnerships with anybody?
So it's gone both ways. So in the past year, I've mentored 10 people directly one-on-one. Nice. And of the 10 people who got mentored, 9 of them ended up just joining my company as an agent. So
nice.
There's a part in the curriculum where you could choose at the end of it, do you want to learn how to build your own company, or do you want to just join mine?
Yeah.
Right. Because that part might not apply. They're I don't want to learn how to create my own entity, file an EIN, and figure out how to pay other people under me. Can I just do it with you?
Right.
Right. And that's part of the module. The intention of it is to make the industry better. I'm not actually looking to hire people.
Yeah.
But through the course of the program, people are like, I like how you do it. They're privy to my sales meetings, my coach calls, and how I rep with my team. And they're like, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
And all the mentees are exposed to everything behind the scenes, so nothing is hidden from them. And that is important to me, because the bank hid that all from us.
Yeah.
And probably for good reason, because they were like, hey, these guys are going to wake up one day and probably want to start their own company.
No, true. And, that actually is a good segue into my next question is, we've talked a lot about legacy and impact, not just within the business, but what's kind of the future for Payment HQ in terms of culture that you want to be setting precedents, say, with these agents that come on board and are now under you?
So the thing that I see in the landscape of payments is it's not uniform. And part of the reason why I started the Payment HQ and the way I run it is I want to leave the industry in a better place than I found it, right? I'm here to be a leader in the space, because a lot of the sales reps that I see out in the field that are actually helping our mothers and fathers and friends and peers out there set up merchant services are doing it wrong. And they're most often being misled. And it's because it is a very high reward, high income, high commission service that you could sell. And you can make money really, really quickly with it. And people are often taught the wrong mindset, the wrong approach. And funny enough, a lot of the people teaching the generation of sales reps that are going out there in the field don't even know how to sell the service. They don't understand the complexities of the pricing and the big the card brands like Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express. They don't understand how the rates work with those cards.
Yeah.
So when we find customers that have been misled, the thing that I'm often faced with is, how are you different? You're a payment company just like them. And perfect segue here. My personal brand has been something that's been powerful in my journey in entrepreneurship. And before the Payment HQ had a brand, the only thing I could leverage was my LinkedIn. Hey, my company, you never heard of it, but if you Google Charles Bayani, the world has heard of Charles Bayani.
Yeah.
And I got a good story. I've got recognition. I've got awards. I have my peers on LinkedIn.
Right.
I have customers on LinkedIn that have left me positive testimonials,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for the longest time, because at the time I didn't understand personal brand, when I started the Payment HQ, I was already leveraging my personal brand that I didn't know I had.
Yeah, right.
I was like, here's a selling point.
Yeah.
Do you have LinkedIn or do you have Google? Google Charles.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn was the first thing that came up. And I was like, look what people have said about me.
Yeah.
And look how long I've been in the industry.
Right.
And then boom, trust and authority established.
Right.
And then the rest is on me for them to like me, right? Like,
Yeah.
and now we're here today, and my company and my sales reps and my team and myself have continued to build on that same brand, right? Now we have real Google testimonials that people can find written. We have video testimonials that people can go see. And in addition, my team has LinkedIn, I have LinkedIn, and now we have just so much proof that we do what we do.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. So in terms of personal brand, you talked a lot about LinkedIn. Is that where you find majority of the leads? Do you do any investment into any other social medias, Instagram, YouTube? Are you kind of omnipresent, or do you like take more of a hard approach towards LinkedIn being the Payment HQ and Charles Bayani?
So I mentioned LinkedIn a lot. We actually, at the beginning, I did a lot of selling on LinkedIn, and I was doing cold DMs on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I found that the decision makers are not on LinkedIn. At least the people that I want to talk to. They're there, but they're not really there. I find that more business happens on Instagram.
Okay.
And because Instagram is where people go numb themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then something
Scroll
stops.
stopping. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a crispy video. That looks interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a business owner and he's talking about something that, triggered something in me, right? Like, oh, that's a pain. They don't know it's a pain, but they're like, I don't like that about credit card processing.
Yeah.
Let me lean in.
Yeah.
And I probably actually, this is a weird statistic. I probably closed millions of dollars of deals from Instagram, but not from Instagram. Let me explain. We've had big high profile deals come our way and we're able to close deals because I can share them my feed. Look at this customer. Look what they said about us. Look at this other customer. Look what they said about us. Look at this business that we just recently helped.
Right.
And then there's this Bermuda Triangle effect. They Google the company. They find the reviews on Payment HQ. They read whatever they read. Then they Google me. They're like, oh, okay. Like, this guy's cool. Like, then they connect that to the social media.
Yeah.
And boom, they're like, we want to shake hands with you versus the competitor. Because a lot of our competitors are just not building their personal brand. They're not making content.
Yeah.
And I found that the content that resonates the most with customers or my ideal client are the ones where the BTS or behind the scenes videos, the clips of the testimonials, the types of businesses that we help.
Yeah.
Those have helped us get so many deals across the finish line. And what's weird is my team is still shy about making content for themselves. So they just share my videos.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, look at this customer, your same industry.
Yeah.
We just helped them.
Yeah.
We could do the same for you.
Right. I think that's a big part of the personal brand and just overall branding in general right now is that you need to be showing the process and the transformation. Like, so many people have been faked out and pump faked by fake results and the gurus and things like that, right? And so now trust is now at that all-time low. And so what gives that real trust to them back now is showing the documentation of, what this client said, or not even what a client said, but what did this client actually experience with you,
Yes.
And whether that be what they actually talked about or whether that just be like giving a handshake with them and walking them through the process, and then also that BTS content that you were talking about, showing that behind the scenes of like, are you actually doing it? Are you doing the things that you say you do? Are you doing the dope stuff? You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're not doing the dope stuff, I don't want to talk to you.
Yes.
So
I have this saying that your social media or your online brand is the digital handshake before the handshake. So a lot of times we exchange numbers and exchange contact, but now I'm exchanging my social media. And a lot of times I get the follow, I get the like or whatever, and the view in the story. And I already know that that's where my funnel starts. That's where my awareness starts.
Yeah.
There's this study, you probably know about it. I think Google did it, where 7-11, 4, right? So what is it? 7 points of contact?
Yep.
11 hours, 4 different places.
4 different places, yeah.
Yeah, so the pod, maybe email, social media, story, reels, right?
Right.
And the only way you can accelerate that time to trust is by being consistent with content.
Right.
And that's something that I learned later in the season. I wasn't making content when I first made my first 7 figures.
Yeah.
And I made my next 7 figures even faster when I started making content.
It's crazy.
And that 7-figure line was so high to me. I was like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And I start making videos, and I tell you, like, everybody just needs to start, because the sooner you start, the sooner you can get better.
Yeah.
The early videos are very cringy.
Yeah.
And what's weird is, at the time, I thought it was the best thing because it was new to me. I've never done this before. And it sucks.
Yeah.
People were buying from it.
Yeah.
And when people say it's going to suck, I was like, yeah, it's supposed to suck.
Yeah.
Because when you start something, you're not going to be automatically good.
Yeah. You're not the expert at it.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You know, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good segue, because I remember when we first started Smackin', you know, we were about to do our first launch, June 28th, 2019. And I think we put out on Facebook, because we had just gotten our final inspection to even be open for the restaurant, June 25th. And so leveraging social media actually jumped us to having a line wrapped around our building, because it had to happen quick. Like we didn't know that we could even get the doors open, right? Because we didn't get our final inspection. So from June 25th, 2019, we posted in the Mira Mesa Neighbors and Chamorro people on Facebook groups that we're a part of, and just leveraged that community, right? Just made one post saying, hey, we're going to be soft opening. You know, whoever wants to come out, come out. Wow. Literally line wrapped around the building by June 28th, 2019, just by leveraging social media. And that's not even with having any following at all, right? Smackin' had 0 following from that point. No one heard about us, right? Because we didn't want to push out too much without guaranteeing that we're going to even be open.
Yeah.
And so just leveraging, I would say, the sphere of influence is a huge thing, right? And then your community groups that you have on Facebook alone, right? And then you can start even just leveraging like your own personal friends and family that you have on, say, Instagram or on YouTube or on LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And just those public groups, like I said, like I just mentioned, Mira Mesa Neighbors, you know, just kind of right where you're at locally. If you have a brick and mortar storefront, you know, to be able to leverage those forms of communication that, you know, a lot of these small businesses, they're completely oblivious to using. And so you'll see them do a full-on grand opening and no one's there, right? And it's probably because they didn't leverage any form of social media content. And so that's one of the big things that, you know, my wife, Steph, and I are really trying to do now as well is we have a Small Biz Foodies page that we're ramping up, and then Coffee What's What is a new page that we're ramping up as well. And that's just kind of giving spotlight. Like we started it during the pandemic because we were doing well, but we wanted to be able to spotlight kind of those small businesses that maybe didn't have any social media platform at all.
Yes.
And then kind of give them a little ramp up, you know, even though they're not paying for the promotion, the advertising, the marketing, like we're so hard committed to community and impact over, you know, over competition, you know, even though we had a restaurant, right? Like I'm going to get mine, you know, I think a lot of people get feared away from wanting to help each other out and, you know, cross promotion or, you know, things like that. But for us, it's always been about community over competition. And so leveraging those social media platforms, literally that first 2 days that we opened, it was line wrapped around the building. That first month that we opened, $70K in revenue, you know, and yeah, we made, you know, 3 months worth of rent. Like I had just invested like, you know, multi 6 figures into this business, and we had $300 left in our bank account by the time the doors open, and we had no idea that the final inspection was even coming. right? So we were freaking out. But yeah, like, God provided like 3 months worth of income in just those 2 days of opening, just from leveraging social media. And so I think it's just really important for small businesses alike. Like, you don't even have millions of followers, right? You have how many?
Less than 1,000.
1,000, right?
I'm right at the doorstep of 1,000.
Less than 1,000 followers, and you're already making 7 figures online, right? And so it's just really a testament to leveraging your personal brand, leveraging social media, whether that be through Instagram or through LinkedIn. And then do you do YouTube as well? Or are you going to start trying to ramp that up?
We are going to ramp up and start making content on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there is a plan for starting a podcast.
Okay.
It will be a business-focused podcast, and we plan to invite all the business owners that we serve today. We have 12 people. I was planning on focusing on one high-quality podcast a month, right? Turn that into a bunch of shorts and hopefully learn and ramp up to 2 a month, as the season goes on. But YouTube, Instagram, nothing on LinkedIn. I kind of fell out of love with LinkedIn because I found that a lot of people that are on LinkedIn are employees, not entrepreneurs. So maybe that's a limiting belief I have to squash now because there's opportunity there.
Definitely.
So maybe I'm overlooking that, but I feel like Instagram is where it's at.
Okay.
And I think what a lot of people get wrong on Instagram is kind of like you said, like you don't need a huge following, but I do look at the numbers and I do look at views, and a lot of people get down on themselves because they're looking at the view number and they're like, it's not high, it's not viral. And the reality is 200 people saw it.
Right.
500 people saw it.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
500 people saw it.
If you convert even 1% of that, you're getting one person. And if you get that one deal of that large company or whatever, that brand deal, whatever it may be, because they love what you have to offer, you scored, you win. And so, yeah, definitely. And yeah, you don't need a big following for it. You just need to get started. I want to just do a rapid fire segment for us. So I have a couple questions here. 3 things every CEO should be doing with their personal finances right now.
3 things. 1, manage or protect your credit.
Okay.
2, understand what your P&L looks like. So a lot of times people know money's coming in, but don't understand that they could be losing money out on the back end. P&L, something you should always review, probably monthly if you're the CEO, only because then you could steward what next moves you could do from those figures. 3rd thing, you need to be dialing in your SOPs. Oh, actually, financial?
Yeah. I mean that's fine too, right? Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. Just in general, 3 things that every CEO should do is standardize and systemize their operations for sure.
Yeah. I mean, systemizing everything, because today, like I'm here, I'm talking to you, and we're running the pod, and my team's running fine without me because the systems are in place, the people are in place, and things will continue to operate without me.
Yeah. 100%. All right. Question number 2. Here's a myth about merchant services that's costing people thousands. True or false? What's a myth that merchant services are costing people thousands of dollars?
That they think they have the best deal.
Okay.
Oftentimes, probably like 10 out of 10 business owners don't know what they're paying.
Right.
And
they have no idea what an effective rate is.
They don't have an idea what an effective rate is. And they always spit out a number and it's always wrong.
Right.
And no love lost there, but hire an expert to handle that for you.
Love it. Yeah. I remember like maybe 4 years into Smackin', I was still at like a 3 1/4 rate or something. And then some guy came along, shout out to Brady, love you, man, ended up getting me down to 2.3.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was just amazing because especially working with a company like Toast, where, by that point they were already public. And so like we talked about earlier, it's like profits over everything at that point. You know, stakeholders, shareholders, how can we satisfy their, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, shout out to Brady.
Shout out to Brady, wherever you're at.
And now we got Charles about to do the same for you guys. So make sure you guys go check that out. We'll link that at the end of this last question right here. Finish this sentence. The most underrated key to business growth is...
Ooh. Your mindset. If you think you can, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're also right.
Like that. All right. Well, Charles, do you have any questions for me? If not, we can start to wrap this up. Let me know.
I have one.
Okay.
Is there in your journey as an entrepreneur, if you could change one thing looking back in your journey that now you acquired as a wisdom and experience, what's one thing you would change?
One thing I would change, I mean, being that I was so big, so keen on finances my whole life, I would say that I would leverage a side hustle all the way through until you can actually get that business going. Personally, like, because I had quit everything and just went straight into planning, into execution mode, and then we launched Smackin'. Like I said, I liquidated my Roth, I liquidated an investment account, I liquidated a 529 account, took out a loan, right? So I'm looking at heavy 6 figures to get going on this business, to the point all the way where I dropped down to $300 left in the bank account. But a big portion of that is also kind of knowing, you know, crossing your T's, dotting your I's when it comes to everything. I thought I was, you know, I thought I was really, really doing a thorough job, but we hired the wrong inspector. Yes. Thank you, Steph. Inspector for when we went through escrow. And that inspector costed us, and maybe Jesus needs to hop on the next pod, but the next inspector that came out costed us $40,000 in our contingency funds because the building wasn't to code that we could have put onto the seller, you know, to take care of before we exited out of escrow.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I thought I was playing all my cards right. You know, I had 40 plus grand in contingency funds to, you know, to go into this launch, and boom, you know, snap of a finger and it's gone. You got $300 left in the bank account. So I would, if I was still working though, or I had at least a side hustle kind of going through that process, then or like at least another stream of income. Doesn't need to be a side hustle, but at least another stream of income, you know, would have been supplementing some of that loss into that launch, and made things a little bit more comfortable mentally or emotionally, whatever it may be. You know what I mean?
The pressure wouldn't have been there. Definitely.
But I do agree wholeheartedly at the same time, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to go all in. So whatever that looks like, you know, maybe it doesn't mean empty out to zero in your bank account, but it's creating so much pressure on yourself to be able to execute with no kind of way to swim out of it. And yeah, you just go in. Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the statement is. Was it pressure makes diamonds?
Yes. Yeah.
So without that pressure, I mean, like, your potential is missed. And funny, I ask that because there's so much wisdom in experience, and what a lot of people choose to avoid the fear. You're missing out on all this growth opportunity. Right. The failures are not failures unless you quit. Right. And fear is not real. It's all in your head.
Right. 100%.
The worst that could, anything that could happen, and it happens to me daily because we're in sales. Yeah. The worst that can happen is someone says no.
Right. 100%.
And we just go about our business.
You just need to keep knocking, and it may take you 10, 20, 50 doors, 100 doors, you know, like, and I call it digital door knocking now. So like it may take you 50, 100 posts online, but hey, that one person saw that post finally.
100, 200,
finally.
300 views.
Right.
I couldn't even make 300 calls in a day, but I could post a video where I say, hey, hit me up.
Right.
I'm soliciting 300 eyes.
Exactly.
I mean, the math's there.
Exactly. 100%. Man, I just want to thank you so much for your time. And I just want to leave us off on this. Where can we find you at, Charles?
You can find me on Instagram at charles.bayani. You can follow my company page at The Payment HQ. I also have a website where you can book a call with my team at www.thepaymenthq.com. You could Google us. You could read our reviews. You can find us on YouTube. You can find videos and
LinkedIn,
Instagram, all of that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to leave you off with one last thing. So, keys to the city, it's kingdom enables your success, because I am a faith-based entrepreneur. You know that already. And so Matthew 5:14 says, you are the light of the world. The city set on a hill cannot be hidden. And so just continue to go out and do good work, continue to be salt and light in our community, and continue to just advance what we already have going on with entrepreneurs, encouraging them, building them up, and maintaining that integrity that you spoke about, and just being authentic to who God made you to be, and stay true to that assignment. So, yeah, thank you for your time, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Peace.